What's up, 2K fans? This is confusing because my name is Dom2K now, and I wanted to say Mr. NBA 2K highlights so badly. Anyway, this is going to be a little bit of a different my commentary. Today, I'm going to do the playoff brackets, and I'm going to give a little snippet at the end about the Three Kings in New York because I have some things to say about that. But anyways, I thought this would be kind of fun. I'm going to do my playoff brackets right here in front of y'all right now. I've given it thought. I've given the playoffs thought, but I haven't gone further than the first round. So this is fun because I'm actually going to figure out the brackets right now in front of y'all, and I'm going to be realistic. I'm not going to be a fanboy about it because in my fan opinion, I want to see totally new teams in the finals like the Bulls and the Warriors, but I'm going to go ahead and do my brackets, and I'm going to be completely real about it, even with my team being in the Celtics. So let's start. Here I have the 2015 NBA playoff bracket right in front of me. This is the most interesting playoffs since 2010 when the Heat got together, because I always felt like after the Miami Heat had the big three, past the 1 year when 2011, after that I felt like we kind of always knew the Heat were coming out of the East because they were so unbeatable. We had hope that the Pacers could beat them and the Celtics, but at the end of the day we always kind of knew it was going to be Miami regardless. This year, this is all I can do is give my opinion about it. I don't know who's going to be the NBA champion, and that's what makes this so exciting, because every single year before this I've been able to pretty much name the Heat. Always been able to name the Heat. Always had hope in other teams, but this is the first year in this decade pretty much since 2010 I haven't been able to name one. So here we go. We got the Hawks and Nets first. Sweep. Go ahead and move the Hawks up. I'm not even gonna, if I have to explain this to you, you haven't been watching the season. The Nets have lost to the Hawks by an average of 16 or 17 points this season. The Hawks won 60 games. They have a Spurs assistant running the system down there. This would be the biggest upset in the world if the Nets actually beat the Hawks. The Nets shouldn't even be in the playoffs for real. The Nets are in the middle of a teardown. They traded KG and Pierce off this year. They're tearing down their roster, but they're still in the playoffs because that's just how screwy the system is. You're allowed to make the playoffs in the East no matter. You could be a lottery team and probably make the East. The Pistons almost made it, and they were 5-21 to start the year. Probably would have made it if Jennings hadn't torn his Achilles, but anyways, yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that. Atlanta Hawks move on to the second round. I'm writing this down at the same time too. Okay, next, this is sadly the most interesting series in the East right now for the first round. This is the most interesting series: Toronto Raptors and the Washington Wizards. Now, I saw that the Raptors won this series. I think it was 3-1. And the Washington Wizards just haven't shown the growth that most people wanted them to show, and I was never on that train. Last year when the Wizards played the Pacers, I think people were putting way too much stock in how good Wall and Beal were going to be. I think they did it too fast. People were expecting them to be contenders the next year. I never expected the Wizards to be contenders this year. On the other hand, Toronto, they ended this season kind of disappointing, but I still would give them the edge over the Washington Wizards. This year, I don't think the Raptors are a first round out. They've matured a little, almost beat the Nets last year. They've gotten better, obviously. And this matchup just isn't all that interesting. It's the best one in the first round of the East, but I would have to go the Raptors here. I watched the Wizards play the Pacers the other night, and they lost to the Pacers, and both teams were playing really horrible basketball. One thing I saw with the Wizards is that when they get cold for real, like Alaskan cold. They get cold. So, yeah, I would say the Raptors would handle them, and I'm going to give them 6 games just because neither one of these teams are that great to me. I'm going to give this a 6. I'm going to say 6 right here. So I would say you're going to have the Raptors after 6 games. I'm writing this down like I said. Probably should edit this out, but whatever. You know how I do. All right, here we go. Next, we got the Cavaliers, and we have my team, the Boston Celtics. We made the playoffs a lot sooner than we were supposed to because, like I said, this is the East. The East is horrible. Michael Jordan's Space Jam team could make it in the East. So we made the 7th seed. I have to say, though, I'm very proud of my group because we had to have had about 30 players pass through this year. We had Tayshaun Prince, Jameer Nelson. We traded Rondo away. We traded Jeff Green. At one point, I just saw people popping up who the fuck are these people? When I turned on the Celtics game, who the hell are these people, I saw Jonas Jerebko there. I'm like, when did he get here? So I don't know, but anyways, with the Cavs and Celtics, I'm not going to be a fanboy. I've seen people being fanboys online saying, oh, the Celtics can challenge Bruh, we're only here because the East is terrible. All right, we're about to get swept. There's a such thing called talent, and Cleveland has Kevin Love, LeBron James, Kyrie. I don't need to go over the rap sheet. All right, all that talent on the team. Cavs in 4. Now the Celtics, I think if we were gonna win a game, we would win Game 3 in Boston. But you know that I don't think I need to explain to anyone who knows basketball why the Cavs are about to dust us. So I'm going to go ahead and put Cavs in 4 just because I don't think with that much talent they should even lose a game to us. And finally, the Bucks and Bulls. Now, me being a Derrick Rose fan, I'm going to be glued to the series. I'm going to watch all my Celtics games too. I'm not a fake fan. Don't get me fucked up. I'm watching all my Celtics games. But yeah, now I got the Bulls here, obviously. I think this is another 4-0 because, okay, I'm looking at these 3 teams, the Nets, the Celtics, and the Bucks, in respect to what the Celtics and Bucks have done because they're growing, obviously. The team is growing, but growing teams aren't supposed to be in the playoffs. That's why I think we should switch to that top 16 seed. If you've seen my commentary about that, we're not supposed to be in the playoffs. We're building our team, but the East is so bad that teams that are tearing down and building, end up in like the 6th seed. But yeah, I got the Bulls here. Shout out to I got them 4-0 against the Bulls. You shouldn't lose a game because the Bulls are a championship contender. Meanwhile, the Bucks are a team that's still building through the draft. I mean, they just got Jabari. They got the 2nd pick this year, and they're building. So props to what they've done. Props to Jason Kidd. But again, this is a result of a weak conference. Bulls, this is as healthy as y'all have been like this decade, basically, ever since D Rose out. Y'all got D Rose there, Butler, Joakim Noah, Pau Gasol. Like y'all are so deep. Given that they don't get injured, I got the Bulls here 4-0. And I don't want to spend too much time on that because I don't want this commentary to go too long. So let's go ahead and move to the Wild Wild West. Even without the Thunder, without Kevin Durant, this is still interesting. And you would think, you missing the MVP, and then Wesley Matthews gets hurt off of Portland, and this is still one of the tightest conferences ever. I mean, one day the Spurs were 2nd, the next day they were 6th. So yeah, let's go ahead and do these. So Warriors, Pelicans, and I just want to say, shout out to Westbrook for your legendary performance this year. But I gotta be fair, I'm happy you didn't make the playoffs because I didn't want you to get hurt carrying that team. I mean, he was doing some really, really legendary stuff, and I felt like a tear was like right around the corner for him because he was just exerting so much power and so much effort. I felt like that was the same thing that got Kobe's Achilles torn back when he did it. So very happy, that y'all can all rest and get healthy for next season. There was no reason to have like a 300 versus Persians scenario on your hands because y'all weren't gonna go that far with just Westbrook. So Warriors and Pelicans. I think the Pelicans are going to challenge the Warriors more than anyone thinks. The game slows down in the playoffs. Some of this cute stuff that the Warriors do where they're dribbling around the 3-point line and let one fly, that's all not going to fly too much in the playoffs. You got Anthony Davis, who's like the second coming of Jesus lately. And yeah, I think that, for my long time basketball, well, not really a long time, but if you were watching basketball in 2009 and the Boston Celtics played the Bulls, yeah, we were missing KG, but the Bulls pushed us to one of the most exciting 7-game series, in history. And we won that series by the hair on our chins, if I remember. Yeah, it was the most interesting series I'd ever seen. So I don't think that this is going to be that type of series, but I still think the Pelicans are going to push them farther than anyone thinks. And surprisingly, I have the Warriors. This is just my opinion. I got Warriors in 6 here. I just cannot see. The Pelicans, they're a good team. Anthony Davis, they got Drew Holiday back now. Tyreek Evans looks like he's balling a little bit. I got to give them 6 games right here. But the Warriors are still going to win that, though. And maybe even 5. But yeah, the Warriors, they're going to win that series. Historic 67-win team. Shout out to y'all. That's amazing. Okay, Portland in the Grizzlies. Now, if you were to ask me yesterday what I thought about this, I wouldn't have known what I was talking about because between college and all that, I just hadn't paid too much attention to, this matchup. But then I saw on TV they hadn't beat the Grizzlies this year. Now, here's the big question mark because as far as I know, they play at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Tony Allen and Mike Conley have both been out with injuries. And, oh shit, I feel a burp coming. Hold up. All right, it's safe. Yeah, they were injured. The Grizzlies were injured when they beat the Pacers the other night, and the coach said if Mike Conley, if it was a playoffs, Mike Conley and Tony Allen still wouldn't have been able to play. That was only a couple of days ago, so I don't know if enough has changed for the Grizzlies to be at full strength. Now, that being said, Portland is not at full strength either because Aaron Affollo got injured. I don't know if he's playing. Wesley Matthews tore his Achilles. Horrible situation. So with this matchup, the 4-5, I'm still going to have to go Grizzlies just because Portland doesn't have a great bench. Portland. They don't have a great bench. They're missing 2 really, really important pieces, and I assume the Grizzlies' 2 pieces are gonna be there, and they're just a deeper, better team in my opinion, anyway. So I got Grizzlies in 6 here. I'm gonna go Grizzlies in 6 because Portland, they're not pushovers. It's gonna be really fun to see Zebo down there with LaMarcus Aldridge, but yeah, I gotta go Grizzlies in 6 right here. Maybe even 5 because I mean, the Portland Blazers, they didn't win a game against them this year, so I don't know with that one. Okay, Texas showdown. How about the Rockets and the Mavs? First of all, I just got to give my props to the Rockets. It's amazing what James Harden did this year. Since Westbrook didn't make the playoffs, James Harden gets my vote for MVP because when I saw Dwight Howard was going out with that knee injury, I would immediately said, oh, the Rockets are going to fall flat on their face. It's over for them. And James Harden turned it up. He averaged what was it? I don't know what stats off the top of my head, but he had really good rebounds and assist average with like 27 points. And to have the Rockets in second place in the West, and he didn't have superstar help for pretty much all the season, that's where my MVP vote goes. But anyways, they got Dallas, and Dallas is a disappointing 7 seed. I really thought when they got Rondo that it was going to be over for the West, but that didn't work out like it was supposed to. Rondo doesn't fit that system well, and if I didn't know any better, I would say Rondo's not even going to be there after this summer. So, anyways, with this series, the Rockets won the season series. Mavs, y'all are first round out this year, but I do see this series with as much talent that Dallas has. I see this series going 7 games. This is the first 7-game series I'm going to say, but I have the Rockets winning it. Obviously, I think you got the MVP on the team and James Harden. You got the White back. The Mavs, the only reason that I don't think the Mavs can win this is just because they didn't show me enough in the regular season. Rondo didn't mesh with the team as well as he should. I don't think Chandler Parsons played 1 game down the stretch in the season because he had knee soreness. And yeah, the Mavs are just not as good as they should be, but I still see this going 7 because the Mavs are just so packed. It's crazy. Stoudemire, Rondo, that team should be going to the finals, but anyways, yeah, I got Houston here. So then I'm going to move down to the last Western Conference first matchup, the Clippers and the Spurs. Matt Barnes follows me on Instagram, NBA 2K highlights. So if he happens to see this, bro, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that y'all got the Spurs in the first round because this is just such a bad situation. Chris Paul has yet... How many years has Chris Paul been in? Chris Paul has been in the NBA. He's been in about 10 years plus now, right? And he's yet to have his signature playoff moment. And sad as it is, it's not going to happen this year against the Spurs. The Spurs, seeding doesn't matter, first of all. The Spurs are 6 seed, but obviously that doesn't mean anything. I feel extremely bad for the Clippers because they're such a good team. They should be advancing, but the Spurs... Let me tell y'all something, bro. When I watch the Spurs play a lot, and they really play, when you watch them play, it's like watching a computer program being executed on the court. It's like a big logic system. One player moves to one spot. If that pass isn't open, they go set a screen for somebody else moves, and then it just keeps on going like a computer program until something finally works and they get a shot and bam, they score. So yeah, I don't have the Clippers beating the Spurs. Sorry. My heart bleeds for the Clippers. If y'all have gotten anybody else, I would have had y'all advancing, but I don't have them beating the Spurs. I got the Spurs here. I got them in 6 games because the Clippers are still a really, really good team. They have a good team, and I think they should be better than they are. But I got Spurs here. Spurs, defending champions, playing amazing basketball. You got the Claw down there with Kawhi Leonard, who really flipped the script for San Antonio because San Antonio, people were questioning if they were going to make the playoffs, and then they turned around and did what they did. So, yeah, anyways, Spurs right here. I'm sorry, Chris Paul. I want to see him succeed so badly. Doc Rivers, my old coach. I want to see them succeed so badly, but I just don't see it against the San Antonio Spurs. Spurs are just too damn good come playoff time. So, yeah, it's just bad luck. All right, so let's move on to the second round. I'm going to go back to the East. And I'm doing this as I go. My mouth is starting to hurt because I'm literally just talking while I'm filling this out. Okay, so the second round in the East would be Hawks and Raptors. Here we go, Hawks. Hawks get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I would say they get to the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 games, and here's why. The Hawks, again, don't have a traditional superstar like we say, to just overpower them, and push them like they should. But they did win 60 games playing that Spurs system of basketball where they get the most out of every single player. They're missing Thabo Sefolosha, but with the Hawks, it's next man up. That's just what it is with the Hawks, just like it is with the Spurs. They're missing Thiago Splitter, so then Aaron Baines comes in. It's like you wouldn't even know who Aaron Baines was if he was playing for the Timberwolves, but he's on the Spurs, and that's just how the system works. It gets the most out of everybody. I don't see the Raptors beating the Hawks just because of that. You know, I believe in the Spurs system. I believe it's the best system in basketball. So I got the Hawks beating them in 6 games. The reason it's 6 games though is because there's just not an overwhelming difference in talent here. I mean, the Raptors have good talent, so do the Hawks, but neither one of them have like a traditional like superstar basketball player on that team. So while I do have the Hawks beating them, that's going to be a mildly entertaining series. I mean, it's entertaining as it depends on the fan, really. It depends on what kind of fan you are. So yeah. Anyways, yeah, Hawks there. Okay, then you got the Cavs and Bulls. Wow. So check this out. No matter what, we're going to either have the Hawks or the Raptors or the Wizards in the Eastern Conference Final this year, because normally the way it works is teams like Chicago and the Bulls are supposed to be 1 and 2, which means they would be on separated sides of the bracket and couldn't meet into the Eastern Conference Finals. But since Chicago, Derrick Rose tore his meniscus, you know, they ended up 2 and 3, which means they're on the same side of the bracket. And that means we're going to be missing a major player by the time the Eastern Conference Finals come. This is not going to be a traditional Eastern Conference Finals where superstars go at it. Like, it's going to be this is an unorthodox year. So Bulls, Cavs. All right. As much as it pains me to say it, because I don't like LeBron James fanboys, and you know, if the shoe fits, wear it. I said fanboys, not fans. There's a difference between fans and fanboys. LeBron fans, I actually get along with some of them. LeBron fanboys are the people who, you know, never give any credit to anybody but LeBron, but that's an entire different commentary for a different day. Yeah, Cavs, Bulls. I have to go Cavaliers and here. I'd have to go Cavaliers in 7 here. I go 7. Yeah, 7 sounds good for Cavaliers. Here's my thought process behind that. First of all, I'm a Derrick Rose fan, but I'm not a fanboy. Again, fans give support to their players and teams. Fanboys blindly give support to their fans or to their players and teams. As much as I would love to see the Bulls go possibly win the championship, I can't bet a nickel on the Bulls, because just to give you a perspective on this, the last time the Bulls were healthy in the playoffs, I was in the 11th grade, and now I'm in my 2nd year of college, and this is the first time since I was an 11th grader in high school that they've been healthy. And even with that, Derrick Rose, I know Joakim Noah didn't play the last few games of the season. I don't even know why. I didn't bother to look it up. Derrick Rose just had some right knee soreness the other day. My question is, are they even going to be able to make it this far without injury? And I'm not saying as a joke. You know, people always joke on the Bulls and stuff. I'm wondering, are they going to make it that far without injury? But, you know, I will say this. I could be wrong with this series, all right? We might get a fairy tale story where the Bulls beat Cleveland. This one could go either way. I'm only going Cleveland because it's not safe to bet on Chicago. If you just look at odds, it's not safe to bet on a team that's never healthy. You know what I'm saying? But I have to say this is the Chicago Bulls' best chance that they've ever had to win a championship since the Jordan era, because they are so deep now, and they're healthy. That's the other part too. You got Gasol down there, but you know, given the Cavaliers' power, this year power with LeBron, Love, Irving, and then their supporting cast, I'd have to go Cleveland right here. I don't think the Bulls can do it this year. Derrick Rose, the other thing, he's not 100% regardless. You know, with that torn meniscus, he's not 100%. He was just in the regular season trying to whip himself back into shape. I don't think he's played full minutes. The good thing about the East being so sorry is that they're going to be able to use that series against the Bucks as a tune-up for the Cavs. That's good. So Derrick Rose is going to get himself into shape for the Cavs. But this could go either way. But I have to go Cavs in 7 here. But it's going to be really entertaining. Finally, we get LeBron and Rose healthy for 1 year. Hopefully, I don't jinx that. Please don't get injured, D Rose. We love you out here. Please do not get injured again. But yeah, I got Cavs here. Okay, so then we're gonna go over to the West again. Yeah, okay, I'm at 19 minutes. All right. Yeah. The next series would be the Warriors and the Grizzlies. Oh, like I said, I'm filling my bracket out right in front of y'all, so I've given no thought into this kind of stuff. Ouch. This is tough. Again, this is another one that depends totally on the Grizzlies, on their health. Oh, that's a tough split-second decision to make. See, here's what I'm struggling with. I look at the Grizzlies and I trust them more. They're two completely opposite teams, first of all. The Warriors are a three-point shooting team, and the Grizzlies are like not a three-point shooting team at all. They get all their points inside. I trust inside in the playoffs more than I trust three-point shooters. I know the Grizzlies have a lot. They Damn, this one is just tough right here. I gotta go Warriors. I really have to go Warriors here. As tough as that series would be to call, I gotta go Warriors because look, I know the playoffs and regular season are different, but anytime a team wins 67 games throughout a year, that means you barely lost. Like, they almost reached the 72, and they almost reached the Bulls team that won 72-10. They were only 5 wins off of that. And respect to the Warriors, because they didn't go sign a bunch of star free agents or anything. This is a team that was a first round out last year, and here they are 67 games. It would be almost disrespectful not to go Warriors here, just because the Grizzlies are still on my suspect list with that health. And plus, I just saw the Warriors beat the Grizzlies by damn near 50. But, they were missing 2 important players. I still got to go Warriors here. Yeah, Warriors in 6. That's my pick. That was really, really tough. But, yeah, I don't see the Warriors getting eliminated before they have to deal with the other people down here. Which brings me down to the series, which would be, Rockets and Spurs would be this series. And, I got the Spurs here again. I mean, it's just not that hard to pick the Spurs. The Rockets are a good team, and I think that they're, a championship contender, and they're still building. But I think that the Spurs play better basketball because I think that the Spurs have a great understanding of the Rockets and understanding that if you don't let James Harden be James Harden, you probably won't lose. And they just beat them the other day. A lot of people were mad at them for using that Smith strategy. I don't know if Pop would bring that into the playoffs, but I do know that Popovich could give a damn what anyone thinks about how he coaches basketball. So his job is to win, and he does it really good. So Rockets, Spurs, I would have to go Spurs in 6 again. Rockets are really good in that series, but I got the Spurs. Their basketball is unbelievable in the playoffs, and I don't really even need to do much analysis there. It's the Spurs. That's my analysis. Okay, so then we get to the East. Hawks and Cavs. Look, it may be unfair to some of you guys, how I think about basketball, but here's my logic, okay? I'm going to give you all a little bit of a history lesson off the top of my head, not even going to use Google, okay? The last time a team did what the Hawks were trying to do I was in the 4th grade, okay? A team by the name of the Detroit Pistons, and I've studied this. The Pistons did not have a traditional superstar when they beat the Los Angeles Lakers. When they came up against the Los Angeles Lakers, all the story was about how, they were huge underdogs because they didn't have a superstar, a traditional superstar. They had players, like Chauncey Billups, who were having really good all-star seasons. They had players make the all-star team, but they didn't have a traditional superstar. And ever since then, every team that's won since then has at least had a superstar or a former superstar. And so 2005, obviously the Spurs came and won your superstars with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker. 06 was Wade. 07 was the Spurs again, superstars. 08 was my Celtics. We had 3 superstars. 09 was the Lakers, Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol. 10 was the Lakers again. Yeah, the Lakers, Kobe and Gasol. 11, Dirk Nowitzki was the only superstar in that team. 12 was the Heat, 3 superstars. 2013, Heat, 3 superstars. 2014 was the Spurs, which by that time, Tim Duncan and Tony Parker are really all-stars, but still they're former superstars, and they have that pedigree, to play like Tony Parker played like a superstar in that series. So here we are at 2015, and the team has not accomplished what the Hawks have been trying to do in that long. I would be a fool to bet against that. I look at the Hawks, and I think in a playoff series, without a traditional superstar player to go head and head with LeBron, I really think it would be too hard for them to beat them. I don't think the Hawks are going to make the NBA Finals this year. Now, let me separate that. I want them to. I would rather have the Hawks or the Bulls there over the Cleveland Cavaliers, just so I don't have to listen to LeBron fanboys say stupid shit for the next 4 months. I don't want to listen to all this stupid shit about how the Cavaliers were only good because LeBron James and it had nothing to do with any of the other players they signed. I don't want to listen to that shit for the next 4 months. I don't. I'm sorry. So, but like I said, I judge basketball with an unbiased eye. I'm not a fanboy. So here I have to say I got the Hawks. I got the Cavaliers winning this one in 6 games. Superstar power. If they even remotely figure out how to use Kevin Love in these playoffs, if they even remotely figure out how to use him, they're going to, dust the East pretty easy. So, yeah, that would be the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals. And, I'm not sorry about that pick either. I'm not a fan, but I just do not see them beating the Hawks. I do not see the Hawks beating them in the playoffs. People are gonna come at me and say, "Oh, but what about what happened in the regular season? The Hawks did win like the last time they played." Yeah, but regular season and playoffs are different. You got to you got to beat the same team 4 times. And for me, if you just look at history, who's beaten LeBron 4 times? It's always a team with other stars. When the Celtics did it, my Celtics beat them out twice, so we had stars on that team. The Spurs beat them, they had stars. The Mavericks beat them, they had a superstar. The Hawks they're gonna rely on complete team basketball to beat a team who has a lot of talent. And it can happen, but that's not my pick. So just respect it. You can have a different opinion. I got the Cavs in the finals. And going to the West, let's see, Spurs and Warriors. Spurs going to the finals. People are going to be like, how did you pick that so quickly? I'm going to go ahead and explain something to y'all real quick. Look, San Antonio Spurs, they don't play basketball by the rest of the NBA's rules, okay? A lot of these teams, out here, they have a superstar. They have these teams with, all this talent and stuff like that. And here the San Antonio Spurs are. They can go grab guys you've never heard of and turn them into damn near finals MVPs. In 2013, when the Spurs were on the verge of winning the NBA Finals, Danny Green was an MVP candidate, okay? Now, a lot of y'all probably don't know where Danny Green came from. Danny Green played with LeBron James that year that they got beat by the Celtics, and when nobody thought they were going to beat him, I think that year, yeah. He was a bench warmer on the Cavaliers. He is now the starting shooting guard for the Spurs, lights out. Almost won finals MVP, okay? Aaron Baines, Thiago Splitter. If these guys played for the Hornets, the Bobcats, you wouldn't know who they are, but because they're on the Spurs, you get the most out of these guys. They are somebodies to us. And when I look at the Warriors, I just think a lot of the stuff that the Warriors do just isn't going to fly in the playoffs against a team like the Spurs. They can get by with it against the Pelicans. You can get by with it against the Grizzlies. But with the Spurs, I don't think I watched the Warriors play some basketball this year. They shoot a lot of threes. And while they do, Steve Kerr has implemented a really good offense down there. I'm not discrediting anything with their offense. But some of the shots I see them take, when Steph Curry just dribbles up under his legs, behind his back, and shoots a wild three with barely that much space and makes it. That's not the kind of style of basketball that's gonna beat the San Antonio Spurs. That's just not gonna fly. The Spurs, on the other hand, you're going to have trouble defending a team who can basically play blindfolded. Because when I watch the Spurs system, it's always like they just know where their teammate is going to be all the time. Whenever they make a pass, that's how the passes go so fast, basically. They just know where they're all going to be at the same time. Yeah, Kawhi Leonard, too. Huge X factor here. Kawhi Leonard, dude, is taking the Spurs by storm. I got the San Antonio Spurs going back to the finals. So as far as for how they're going to beat the Warriors, by now I probably look like a 6-game whore. But yeah, I do 6 games because I feel like if you beat a team in 5 games, they were easy. But if you beat a team in 6 games, they were at least challenging to you. So yeah, I got the Spurs again in 6 here. I just keep saying 6 to be safe. That could turn out right. Yeah, Warriors fans are probably going to be mad at me. But, I've been suspect about their team just the entire year. I've been looking at their team. People forget that everybody keeps talking about how great the team is and how, they would be okay without Steph Curry. No, they wouldn't. This is the same Warriors team that was a first round out last season. They barely signed anybody except Sean Livingston. This is the same team that was the first round out. They just improved like hell. But as far as beating the Spurs, I don't think it's going to happen this year. Now, Golden State proved me wrong. I want to be wrong because, to be honest with you, if we just trash this whole bracket, I want the Golden State Warriors to be playing the Bulls. I want them to play the Bulls in the finals. That's what I would rather see. But yeah, I gotta go Spurs here. Just from what I've seen in the past and just from the Warriors, some of the stuff that I see, I don't think it's gonna be so easy in the playoffs like some people think it is. So yeah, that leaves us with a San Antonio Spurs and Cleveland Cavaliers finals rematch of 07. So who do I think is gonna win? Now, yeah, I got the Spurs. I got Spurs, Here's why I have the San Antonio Spurs. I actually have a really good reason with this one. So not too long ago, might have been about a month ago, might have been a month and a half, I don't really remember. We watched the Spurs and the Cavaliers play one of their only 2 regular season meetings. And what I saw with that, Kyrie Irving had to score 57 points for them to beat the Spurs by like a few points. And this was after the Spurs choked it away. Kawhi Leonard missed the free throws that would have sent them packing. Now, if you come back in a year, yes, I think the Cavaliers are going to win a championship. But the problem that I'm seeing with Cleveland, and the reason that I've been skeptical the whole time and saying like, yeah, the Hawks could beat them and the Bulls could beat them, they haven't figured out how to use Kevin Love yet. Kevin Love, a lot of people who don't know anything about basketball are pretty much just saying how Kevin Love was never a superstar and how he's not that good and he's overrated. And the people like myself who actually look at basketball unbiased and actually have been watching for seasons kind of realized, no, this is just the same thing that happened to Chris Bosh. Kevin Love has been told to just sit on the three-point line. That's where he's catching it. That's where he's shooting it. And he's not using any other part of his game because LeBron James, a big part of LeBron James' game is to penetrate. And it's a lot easier to penetrate when the opposing power forward is watching Kevin Love on the three-point line. So that's just the way it is. But the problem with that is, to beat the San Antonio Spurs, you're going to need LeBron James to play his best basketball, Kyrie Irving to play his best basketball, and you're going to need Kevin Love to do something he hasn't done all year. He's going to have to play his best basketball. And given that the Cavaliers to this point have not figured out how to use Kevin Love, I can't pick them over the Spurs because you're not going to look, if it takes 57 points from your point guard to beat the Spurs, if that's what it takes for y'all to barely beat the Spurs, y'all are probably going to get dusted in the finals. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, and like I keep saying about the Spurs, this system is so flawless. The only person who's really dealt with that intensity this late in the NBA season is LeBron James. Remember that this is Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving's first playoffs, and to think that they're going to go up against the Spurs in the finals and be able to beat them in the finals 4 times, not this year. When they get a full training camp under their belt next year, after they've had a full season of playing basketball together, then yeah, come back to me. I think the Cavaliers can beat the Spurs then, if the Spurs even make it again. But this year, I have the Spurs as repeat champions. I don't want to put a game total on the Spurs and Cavs either. I don't know what game total to put here, because on one hand, you could say 5 games, because without Kevin Love, we saw this year, the Spurs were handling the Cavaliers minus Kyrie Irving putting 57 on them. If Kyrie Irving didn't put 57 on them, they were pretty much going to lose that game by 10. So on that one hand, I want to say 5, but then also I know better than that, because if Cleveland made it to the finals, that means they withstood the Bulls and the Hawks, which means they're probably playing better basketball, which probably pushes that total up to about 6 or 7. It's going to be an amazing finals, I think, but I don't think Cleveland has figured out how to use their pieces well enough to actually beat the Spurs in the series. They figured out their pieces well enough to, dominate the regular season. They can beat teams like, the Nets, and they can beat all these scrub teams that they come across during the season. But to beat the Spurs in the finals, you're going to need much, much more from Kevin Love, and I don't think they figured out how to get that from Kevin Love yet. So for that reason, I have the Spurs repeating for the first time in franchise history. I don't think they've ever repeated, yeah. Now, I want to put a disclaimer at the end of this. I could be completely wrong about everything I said. The Bulls could beat the Cavaliers. We could have a fairy tale thing where Derrick Rose pushes his knee past the limit. I think it has, because it just got sore the last game. That's why he sat himself out. The Hawks could completely shut me up, and they could that team basketball that's won them 60 games could get them past the Cavaliers. I don't see it, but it could happen. The Warriors on the other side, it could be a new era. The Golden State Warriors could get past the San Antonio Spurs in the new era, and the Spurs could be done for good, because Father Time has to catch up sometime. I mean, it's undefeated and it's taken unnaturally long with San Antonio, but I mean, it has to catch up at some point. And I could be wrong. I'm just basically trying to disclaim I'm not a know-it-all in basketball. This whole thing, we could end up with I don't think we're going to end up with Warriors and Hawks. That's pushing it. But we could end up with Warriors and Bulls. And the thing when I'm looking at the West is there's 7 teams here that can go to the finals, by the way. The only team I don't think has finals potential yet is the Pelicans. But when I look at the Warriors, the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers somewhat, the Rockets, the Mavs, Clippers, Spurs, they all have talent and a system that can take them to the NBA Finals. So what I gave you is just a synopsis of how I think about this playoffs. But, I'm pretty sure that this playoffs probably has 100 different brackets. Pretty sure there's people who have the Bulls beating Cleveland. There's probably people who have the Hawks beating Cleveland. There's probably people who have the Mavs beating the Rockets, you know what I'm saying? And there's probably some fools out there who have the Clippers beating the Spurs, but, yeah. So anyways, leave your comments about what you think about that. And I'm about to transition to the Three Kings of New York. So, if you haven't watched my series before, you can watch that part. Or if you've been watching it, you can stay for that part. But definitely let me know what you think about the playoffs.